Hello, friends and listeners. This week we're taking a break from recording new episodes, so we're bringing you an encore presentation of one of our most meaningful conversations from the archives. We called it White Blank Page. We hope new listeners will enjoy this episode for the first time. If you listened to this episode when it aired over a year ago, first of all, thank you. Thanks for hanging with us and becoming a regular member of the How I See It pod crew, I guess? I don't know. What do we call you guys? Anyway, we hope this episode is a good and helpful reminder for you in your current season of life. Enjoy!
No, it's a practice. It's a practice. When I feel myself becoming overwhelmed,
It's a mental exercise.
It's a mental exercise.
So talk that through with me. Unless you want me to.
No, it's all good. I was thinking about it from the aspect of the when in the process of a week, I typically see myself as having certain things that I want to accomplish. And then there's at least 3 or 4 areas that I'm trying to accomplish things in simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So in that process, I can start in on Monday thinking about those things.
Mm-hmm.
And Monday is okay. But when I get to Wednesday...
Right, because on Monday, the week is going to be a great week.
Yeah, it has the ability. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to accomplish this. But then by Wednesday, there's a certain reality that starts to set in. Welcome to How I See It with me, Mark Pratt, and
Justin Sternberg. This is a podcast that works to counter cultural polarization through thoughtful conversations.
It's like I am or I'm not going to be able to accomplish. I have accomplished, or maybe weather came in, circumstances changed. I couldn't get the keys for that job, or this thing didn't line up, and not even anything that's necessarily my fault,
right,
or within my control, just circumstantial. It's a reality.
Because our future Justin is the best version of Justin. The most efficient, the most thoughtful, the most productive, the least impacted by, ultimate Frisbee injuries.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're often planning with future Justin or future Mark.
Sure.
And so the week looks really good from that angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by Wednesday, though, for me, they're
past Justin, really, man. He needs.
No, but Wednesday, I'm starting to recognize I may not have accomplished all of those things in all of those areas. And my mind is starting to become a little more conflicted, confused. So for me, I come back, and that's where the blank slate, the white paper comes in.
You treat it like Monday? Is that
no? I just wipe it all off. I wipe it all off in my mind, and in that moment, there's a peace. Because I've been able to recognize that maybe I wasn't intended to do quite all of those things. And there's a piece that says, okay, you're not solely responsible for all those things. You're not even possibly able to do all of those things. But yet, I can start adding back. Once I wipe it clean, I start with who I am. Okay? I start putting back on, okay, I am a Christ follower. I am a husband to Chris. I am the father of John and Lizzie. I am a therapist. I am a podcast host, co-host. And as I prioritize who I am, that helps me reestablish what I need to accomplish on Wednesday. You follow me? That's for me, and that's the mental practice of the blank page, is because I'm coming back to, I'm not so confused and losing focus. I'm able to recognize and rebuild it based on the priorities that I have in my own heart because of who I am.
Hmm.
And then I can go forward and say, okay, so what does Wednesday really need to accomplish?
Hmm.
And what about my Monday vision is just going to need to transfer to next Monday? And what conversations am I going to need to have so that I am keeping that priority of Christ follower, husband, father, those kind of things, brother, son, because those are the things that I want to be my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want it to be
in the things you did or got accomplished.
Yeah. So like you say, that's just, and I think about that. That's kind of what came to mind as you were sharing that last part in the fence podcast, was just, sometimes how the fence needs to change needs to be reworked around my priorities to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the protection comes into play. Because I can say, even as a husband, I'm sorry, Chris, I'm late. This is, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying it won't happen again. And I'm not minimizing. I apologize, that kind of thing, when I'm human, or I'm communicating ahead of time, or, those kind of things. So that's, does that make sense in those?
It does. I've never thought about it in those terms. And I think I'd like to figure out how to do that, because that sounds awesome. I think there are versions of that
Sure.
that I've done, but not that clearly. But mine is more defeatist, coming from a defeated place of like feeling super stressed. It's kind of like you said, when that stuff's like you're behind on your list. Your brain is in a certain it's stress, but it's this like schism, like things aren't aligned with what they should be, right? And so the further they get askew from that, the more your brain is buzzing, and thinking about, I gotta get to that, or whatever. And there are times when I look at that and I go, I can't. I can't get it all done. I am thinking I need to be this type of person, but I can't be. All I am is what I am. And so I look at like what I have to get done, and I go, okay, it kind of a very similar thing. What can I get done in the vein of something that makes sense for like who I want to be? You know? And it helps me realign. And so then often what that means is there's more room for people. And I go, I'm going to still work on this thing, but maybe it gets set aside for a second and I check with this person. I think about work, for example. Recognizing as my role as a management and really leadership, it's about them winning. And so many weeks I have to go, wait a second, your agenda has to get paused, because I want them to win, and I want them to succeed, and my job is to do that. Like realigning and remembering my priorities are based on the team succeeding, not me. And it's hard because I'm, Enneagram 3 is someone who wants to succeed. It's a pusher. It's a doer. It's a, and to say, no, that's gotta get, and we're gonna put that on hold and let someone else win and do and accomplish.
Gotcha.
It's hard. But, you made me think of that, but.
And I think when you use, and I think from my perspective, I can see it going sideways or maybe even negative when that thought is I should have.
Mm.
You follow me?
Yes.
Because it's at that point, well, what am I?
Mm.
I'm a lousy. I'm a no good. I'm a, and we
Yeah.
fill in that blank when in reality, no, that's not the case.
Mm.
I bit off more than I could chew.
Mm-hmm.
Circumstances changed.
Mm.
So now what do I do?
Right.
And I think, as you were describing it, I think in some cases it is the difference between CR and my identity, who am I in Christ and my identity, and a disease model that basically says I am an addict. I am, I'm defining myself by my disease and not defining myself by my identity, who I am in Christ. And I think that's where it comes back to for me. That's what realigning that sheet is about, because I'm focusing on not who I am in an arrogant sense, but what is my identity, and therefore I reprioritize based on that. And I think that's where that's a part of the whole regeneration, if you will. It's a small regenerating that I can do at 3:30 in the morning when my mind's caught in that schism to a degree. Yeah, because I think that it happens. It happens to all of us in those moments.
Because how often do you find yourself biting off more than you can chew?
Most of the time, every week. Yeah, most every week, and I find myself shifting.
Yeah. It's very interesting how often the most productive people feel the least, or can struggle with that feeling of being behind, being under, being lacking, and often it's very much tied. It's the stick.
Yeah.
Because the benefit is you're productive. You're a highly productive individual and getting things done. And from the outside, there's very rarely a person who will look at someone like you and say, "What does this guy do?" It's like there is production all around you, but the other end of that stick is that it becomes a taskmaster, and like you said, it tends to want to dictate our identity. I'm a person who gets things done.
Yep. Call this person.
Yep.
They get stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's who I like.
Yeah.
Again, taking on that identity. And I love what you're saying. Is saying replace that.
Yeah.
With the truth. And a doer is not an identity.
No.
It's a result of your identity, and what you do depends on your identity, but
your character, your priorities decide that identity. Yeah.
And so,
go ahead. I didn't realize you were a NE3. Yeah. That's interesting to think about. Yeah.
Was it surprising?
No, I'm not a big Enneagram person. I see its validity. I recognize its value. And I think it's a decent design model type thing, but the reason I ask, the reality of it is I hate taking tests like that because I feel like they're trying to pigeonhole me. I'm thinking they try.
Are you an 8 or what?
No, but I'm actually a 3 myself.
Okay.
When I'm.
That's like your primary.
Yeah.
Why is that surprising?
We're
sitting here on a podcast, like we're pretending we disagree about things, but really.
Well, I think about it. I think I want to say when I looked at the label, it was like image performer.
Right.
You follow me?
Yep.
And I didn't like that label.
I would never put that label on you. And yet there is an image you care about. It's yours. Like it's how you view yourself. And so just think about, even in your white paper, white Like label.
Blank sheet.
Blank sheet, yeah.
Blank sheet. Blank slate. White page. Whatever. Yes, in that. There's probably a name out there if I look. But yeah, even in that, go ahead.
But even in that, like you're recognizing it's about your image, but you're recognizing the truth of what you want your image to be. So it's realigning that. I think on a regular basis, but your bent is towards matching the image that you want to have of yourself, production, getting things done, meeting deadlines, not missing agreements, whatever.
Yeah.
But instead of it being, someone outside of you dictating that vision that you're trying to meet, it's you.
And I think that
I don't think it aligns the same way, but
I understand, and I think that's where I'm at. It's like when I think of performer, I think of I'm putting it out there for other people to see.
Yes.
An image is, and I want your image of me to be good.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways, age has taught me that if I'm trying to do that for you, that's futile.
Yep.
And I think that's where, and I as we think about enneagrams, I think about how we love also, and the attachment styles that we develop. I don't know how much you and I have talked about that, but
a little bit, yeah.
And I think if we're doing the image thing out of being a pleaser, because there's accolades to call Justin, he'll get stuff done. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's like and yet the pleaser can also be kind of the negative design of the pleaser is they're not always honest. Because what happens is their yes eventually runs into a finite timeline that they have to experience. Someone experiences no from them.
Right. Usually after a yes.
Yes, normally.
In that world,
Yes, normally after a yes. And I think in some ways, the ones who are closest to us unfortunately get the no's.
Yeah.
And that's where I think for me that blank sheet comes back into play. It's like, okay, John's going away, shortly. And then Lizzie's got this stress. How can I help them? What can I be, how can I be ministering to my wife in that process? While I generate some income to be able to, do what needs to be done. And I think that's what's helpful for me in that exercise. Yeah. Because it's interesting because like I say, I struggle I struggle with boxes. Yes, I don't like being pigeonholed.
Yeah. Well, we did.
Don't tell me there's only a yes or a no to that question. Come on now.
Right. What if we color outside the lines? Yes. Yeah. That feels like. What I think it's an 8. Like you must have some like
John's full on 8.
Yeah.
And then he'll bust on me, like when we're doing F3, he'll bust on me all the time. It's like, some guy, everybody will be running in a line and I cross over the road, and it's like, so I know he gets that from somewhere. That doesn't necessarily show up in my enneagrams, but it's probably
so we did a study, like a full day's training at my work.
Oh, neat.
And the lady who did it, she basically said, "This is a view of the world." I really liked how she described it because she took away some of the this is a religious this is perfect and flawless and it will. But she was basically saying if you do this right, it will help inform you. It will help give you tools. And I really liked her perspective on it. But she, one of the aspects of Enneagram is the wings and then the
Do you have wings?
Yeah.
What's your wing, if I may ask?
I don't remember. I could look it up. But,
okay, no, I'm just curious.
But there's also the triangle thing. Do you remember that? Where like
Oh
usually,
yes, because they go around a circle
yes,
basically,
yeah, but you usually
and there's
connect,
9. So
right?
yeah, there's triangles to all the other, to 2 other
Yeah,
ones typically. Yes, I hear you.
and I think 8 is one of those where it like connects to that, which makes sense in your world that you have some elements of that obstinance or that like don't tell me how to color the page or whatever
Yeah.
because you connect that way, where I think I'm more connected on the other direction.
Okay, that makes sense. No, I
Yeah,
hadn't honestly looked into it. I
yeah.
mean,
Which when they described all that, I'm like, it just sounds like you're saying anyone can be any, like, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
you're giving a lot of like room for, and it's like, well, there has to be. It's kind of like you're saying, like, you can't color me in a box.
It's kind of like psychology, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's like, well, that explains why you do this and this and this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again,
But
I think there's helpful
it's kind of
tools
like
to it, but
horoscope almost.
yeah.
It's like you keep it generalized enough.
See,
And it's
that's
like
where she would. Yeah, that's where she would have been like, "This is not a horoscope.
Yeah,
It's
no,
different."
I understand,
Which,
and I think good models are like that.
Yeah.
They're specific enough based on statistics
Yeah.
and patterns that we can identify,
Yeah.
and yet they're not.
They're models.
Yes, they're models.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
a picture of reality, not reality.
And it's not that there aren't differences. There's a uniqueness that everyone brings to that model.
Yeah.
And this is the generalized
Yeah.
part, but then there's also the
Mhm.
individualized part
Yeah.
that says, okay, yeah, there's room for that also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you describe the parts about the 3 that you don't espouse or you know that kind of like you feel like that's me. I'm that. I'm the performer. Especially, and you mentioned age. That's like slowly shifting, but like from when I was young, you know, it's always about image. It was always about how does this make me look. It was always about, you know, my second order thinking was, okay, if I do this, maybe that person will see or whatever, you know, or it could, yeah, or it could open opportunities to do more of what I want to do or whatever. But it's like it's very image conscious, and so failure was just has always been catastrophic to my self-esteem. I shouldn't say always. It's way better now. Like I'm
Nice.
Yeah, like I would say healthy in that way now. But for so much of my life, opposite of healthy, like extreme unhealth. In when failure would occur, it would impact me to my core.
Yeah.
You know? And it was because my image was tarnished. You know?
Yeah, I do. I'm
and
here.
It just hurt so bad. And it's embarrassing to admit how much it hurt. But like I just could not be wrong. I could not, because it would say, like you remember what you said earlier. You said, "I am a failure. I am." It would be identity based.
Yeah.
Instead of situational.
It would be defining.
Right, and so that exercise I was talking about, that defeated, is sometimes I have to. It's very similar to what you're talking about in that I recognize succeeding at all those things I was hoping to succeed in will not identify me. It should not. But what I do in this moment does. How I, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because really, and I'm if I'm hearing you, and I think I am, you know, it's like I can satisfy all the people, or you know, I can satisfy a number of people, and it really doesn't change my image that much.
Yes. Well,
in that relative terminology, you follow me? Because yeah, it is to the point of that's kind of who I am, and yet doing it for most everybody isn't necessarily going to matter a whole heck of a lot.
So this is where I disagree.
Okay, go for it.
For me, it mattered so much, and every time I pleased someone, it felt like I just like someone, you know, inserted $500 into my bank account.
I gotcha.
It mattered a lot. But what I found is there was no amount of money in the bank account that was enough. It was never, it only created more need, more desire, more. So now that I pleased you, okay, well, let's go for this person. Okay, all right, now I'm juggling both of you. Now this person, and like I would keep. It was that's why I call it approval addiction, right?
Yeah, I
It's
hear
this
you.
idea that like I need more, I need more, I need more, and it wasn't just getting approval; it was also maintaining it and not seeing failure because, again, that was very tied into my, I guess, identity as well. So, in other words, because there's often threes, like you said, that are dishonest, and I like that represented failure to me if I said something and didn't do it. So then, rather than cheat that person, and like you said, loved ones usually get cheated because it's like, oh, they'll understand I'm doing all this important stuff.
We take those for granted.
It doesn't, for me, it didn't feel like failure or cheating. It felt like they'll yeah, it's so messed up. But but yeah, so it's just like,
what did you feel there in that moment when you reflected on that? You felt
shame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you mentioned earlier, but like just cheating the people that matter the most for the people that don't. You know, and don't get me wrong, these people matter, and like,
no,
you know,
all people matter.
All people matter. Yeah. Yes, but yeah, just it's just looking back and seeing how I was chasing approval so much at the expense of the approval of my own family, my spouse particularly, and saying she'll understand, which she did because she's amazing, but taking that for granted for so long. And it's still a struggle to not, because it's a combination of my struggle and her strengths, which is she usually is fine. She usually is generous in that way and understand. She knows who I am. She saw it when she married me, you know, that I was that same person.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it doesn't surprise her, and she's learned how to live with that. But there's also second order consequences to it, you know, that we've taken on over the years, and you know, like, thanks to Celebrate Recovery and other tools like that, seeing how when you do this, it actually causes this over here. And like you said, sometimes we don't see that in the beginning, but over time, you're able to recognize that. And so that's where the shame comes, is recognizing like the deep wounds and pains and crevices created by years of doing that. And recognizing like it wasn't just you know, she'll understand, but it actually was creating problems in our relationship because I continued to do that, you know.
Yeah, the patterns and the cycles go on, and we feel shame about having lived that pattern out so long in hindsight. And I think is that the part where you recognize age has made a difference in that?
Yes.
Because I know you were.
Well, it's a combination of, but I think age is probably the biggest thing, because, and I think with age it's implicit that there's experience there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just that years have gone on; it's that years have gone on and experiencing the reality, right? And recognizing that, again, I didn't come to this understanding that pleasing people would ultimately feel empty or whatever.
Yeah.
I experienced it and therefore learned it, right? Like I worked so hard and burned every end of the candle, and you know what I mean? My old friend Keith used to call it the performance treadmill, you know?
Sure.
And just this idea of like work, and recognizing that I still feel empty. Just one more person to please. All right, let's do this, you know? And recognizing through several burnouts.
Yeah.
And kind of going the other end of just like, I got nothing, I can do nothing, I'm a failure, you know, and having to rebuild from that place. Like, you can't keep doing it. This is a broken pattern, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, age, but really what age has gained me, which is experience, which is tools, which is things like Celebrate Recovery that have come into my life and taught me, you know, I've been doing that since 2007, you know, so like those tools have been, and then I talk about 7 Habits all the time. Like, I read that shortly before my first step study group in Celebrate Recovery, and I think my mind was so hungry at that time that both of those things have just become me. If that they like integrated into me, and obviously, you know, that didn't translate into perfection, but helped me to see the reality through some of the lies in my mind of like approval and all that. And that's when I started using the word approval addiction. It was probably 14 years ago.
Wow.
And 14 years of work has got me to a place where I don't think I'm addicted anymore. I really
nice
don't.
job.
Yeah. I think sometimes I get a hit of it, and it's like, ooh, that feels good. I want more. And I go, no, we know what that is. But I'm going to be thankful for this hit. I'm going to be thankful that God is generous in his approval with others, how he brings their approval to me.
Yeah.
And I very often look at it that way. Like, thank you. You know I need that. You know there's a part of me that is fueled by that, but you also know that's unhealthy. Or you're like, I see what you're doing, and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
And and there's when I have to do something that is very public, preaching, leading worship, teaching Friday night. That's my prayer of surrender. Is that I don't need this approval. If I have to fall on my face literally and do something completely embarrassing to keep me close to you, I'll take it.
Nice.
I'll take it. And I had to pray that prayer with worship so many times, and I believe I experienced it many times. Of missing a note or forgetting my capo was on and starting the song in the wrong key. And like those things in the moment were devastating because it didn't align with who I wanted to be, a worship leader or whatever. I'm just a bumbling idiot who doesn't belong up here. But also recognizing and looking back at that and going, no, this was part of his journey to keep me close to him while bringing me to where my desire, my heart was.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. In that whole process of the plans that he has for you.
Yes.
Yeah. The failure is the humility that needs you to be reliant and saying, okay, yep, I'm still learning. I'm not a bumbling idiot. I'm just learning how to be a worship leader.
In the moment, it feels like I'm literally a bumbling idiot. Processing it over time, I'm able to fold the truth into it, replace that ridiculous.
It's the regenerating of your mind.
Yes.
I've gone from instantly thinking that I'm a bumbling idiot. 5 years later, 10 years, 14 years, 20 years later, I can say, yep, still need you, God. Yep, can't do this without you. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And ultimately, it's kind of the audience of one type lifestyle. That's...
Yeah. And the flip side of that performance treadmill thing is really, really experiencing and learning the value of failure. And replacing the lies of failure is failure. Failure is...
Yeah. I am a failure.
I'm a failure, right?
Sure.
Failure equals loser, or losing equals loser. And replacing that with, failure is part of the journey forward.
Failure is part of learning.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, the journey forward.
It's that
agreement.
Growth mindset.
Yeah.
It's this idea that when I fail, there's something in this that's going to help me.
Yeah.
And the lesser failures, I'm able to just roll right into that. Some of the deeper cutting ones takes a minute.
The bigger shame ones.
Regrowth, or what do you...
Regeneration.
Yeah. The bigger shame ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Which shame is very much attached to public image.
Yes, no doubt.
So
no
like
doubt.
I said, being up on that stage, messing something up.
Yeah.
It's the thing that I've taken and I put it on the altar and said, burn it, burn me. Like,
yeah.
Because that's wrong, how much I care, and yet...
Yeah.
It's like...
It's that refining. It's take the dross out of the silver, and the silversmith has something for use. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And also saying, if what ends up burning up is everything, there was no silver there.
True. It was hay.
And so there's been a lot of that surrender to say, burn it up if there's no silver there.
and see what's left.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that whole thing's gone.
Oh yeah,
Doing worship.
Yeah.
If there's nothing left there, then I want it to be right. I don't want it to be me. So if that goes away because you said no, not for you, like that prayer of surrender. Of course, not wanting that, but
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
And I was thinking about it even just in the aspect of age, because you got to realize, I mean, dad jokes come from a place of not caring what other people, especially your children, tend to think. And I was thinking about it. Yeah, even like with John and I, or sometimes with Lizzie, it's like I respect the fact that sometimes what I do is embarrassing to them.
Sometimes.
Yeah, quite often probably. And not embarrassing as in the aspect of, but it's like, it's in some ways, I don't care if there's attention, shifted. And I respect the fact that neither one of them desire attention, in that public, So yeah, I'm wrestling with that. Not wrestling in the sense of changing, but being aware that I may not care,
right?
But at times, I don't want to necessarily create unnecessary embarrassment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and the balance too of sometimes as a dad, it's kind of like your role is to make them just a little embarrassed. And recognize life's not so serious. It's okay.
Yeah.
But that balance, but also protecting them from shame.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
The balance is good.
Yeah.
Growth.
I think about the mom who drops her, teenage son up in school and says, "I love you, son," and like how that's probably a good thing, There's a balance to that, and of course, saying, I'll wash your whitey tighties tonight. That's probably over the top.
Yeah, just a little bit, I'd say, just a little bit. So as I was thinking about that, the blank page, the clean slate. What in the process of your tools and learning, what if you could share one tool that has been beneficial? I'm just thinking about it from that aspect. What would that be for you? As even like a go-to. That's a pretty deep sigh.
It's a deep sigh.
And if it's something you don't want to share, that's okay too. I respect that.
I think it depends on what level you're at of my.
I'm okay with anything that's been of value to you.
From the very beginning. The thing, and this is something I've tried to coach others to do who are kind of, I think, in that very beginning as well. And it goes for more than just quote unquote approval addiction or someone like me. But it's when your thinking has gotten you to a bad place over and over and over. The most important tool I had to learn, it's not even a tool, it's a rejection. It's this, I'm probably wrong about my thinking most of the time. How can I fix this? Because up until that surrender, that kind of, I believed the lies that I was telling. You know what I mean? Like, I am a failure. I am whatever, just all the nonsense. And getting to a place of like, no, my thinking is causing brokenness in so many areas of my life. I'm gonna stop trusting myself. That's what it was. Not just saying you're an idiot. You can't. Nothing you say is right, or nothing you think is right. But more of stop trusting yourself so much as being the most trustworthy voice in your head, and recognize that maybe right now, until I can get realigned, I am the most untrustworthy voice in my head. So who can I trust to help me? But you can't go to that place of who can I trust, how, getting someone in your life, whatever, until you get to that first. And I don't know if that's a tool or if that's just baby step to get you towards some tools, because I've tried to coach other people in this too, like, where it's very clear that their thinking is preventing them from moving forward. It's like, it's not until you stop trusting yourself so much that you're so smart, that you got it all figured out, that you're, everything you believe is right. It's not until you distrust that initial assessment, especially in, there's always certain areas where this is more applicable than others. Your judgment might be spot on over here, but this particular thing, probably the reason you're around me in recovery or whatever, is because looking over here, your vision is completely skewed and broken. So I say, stop trusting what you're seeing is right. Baseline. It might be. It's never about saying you're wrong. It's about saying stop trusting it so blindly. Again, not really a tool, but
no, but an insight.
Because for me that was ground zero.
Sure. Yeah.
To start the beginning of the rest of my life, really.
Yeah. That's how you see it.
That's how I see it.
Appreciate you sharing from that.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm going to have to learn the blank page.
Blank page. That's how we see it.
Hey, thank you for listening to our podcast. If you like how I see it, please do all the things that podcasts tell you to do. Subscribe, rate, review, follow us, and or talk nicely about us on social media. If you want to reach out, the email is us@howiseeit.click. Yep, I said .click, as in .click. Please tell your friends about this show, and we'll see you on the next one.